In the previous lessons, we've talked about goals and setting a plan to achieve those goals. But today, let's talk about what happens when we reach the end of that time frame and what we're supposed to do to evaluate these goals. Well, the first thing we need to do is to know if we actually hit our goal.
For process goals, remember those things that you have immediate control over, such as walking for 30 minutes every day or biking for 15 minutes every day.
We can use a simple checklist with bubbles, and every day that we hit that goal, we'll fill in the bubble or check that off. On the other hand, we might want to keep a separate sheet for those outcome goals or things that are more long-term. For those, we might want a sheet that says what the goal is, the measurement that we're comparing. And so if you're saying like weight, we have a weight measurement. If we're saying blood pressure, blood measurement, whatever, the actual measurement. And then a comparison question says, did I actually achieve this? So saying whether the actual exceeded the goal or not. Once we have this written out and we know whether we hit our goal or not, we need to evaluate that plan and see what actually happened over this time period. This takes some time to actually reflect on how things went. We need to know if things went well, what could have gone better, what things didn't go well. It's important to remember not to be too hard on yourself. It'd be helpful to think about how would you give suggestions to a close friend. You wouldn't be mean about it. You would just make a couple suggestions here or there. Do the same thing for yourself. It's also important to remember that you will miss your goals or fall off your plan from time to time. That happens to everyone. That's okay. What's important is that you're taking the time to really look at what went wrong or what could have went better even. Okay, so while we're evaluating goals, another thing we need to consider is what's the next step for each goal. So if you achieved a goal, are you going to go for a bigger goal? It's also fine just to stick with that goal. If you felt like you're hitting that goal, but it was just barely, you're not really ready for the next step, just stick with that goal. That's an option as well. If you didn't achieve a goal, think about, do you need to set a smaller goal to develop momentum up to there? Is there something unrealistic about that goal? Or maybe you just didn't have it this week, but now you know what went wrong. Now you have a better plan. Now you're ready to go for that goal. All those, again, are options. Regardless, whatever your overall goals are, the long-term goals should really drive each goal-setting session. And whether that's to increase or to stick with the same, whatever it is, that should be driven by what your long-term goals are. So when we think about what went wrong, so if you missed your goal, what didn't go well? The first one to consider was your goal realistic? If our goal is unrealistic, that usually means we achieved like part of it, but we weren't quite there, or we hit it one day and then we were too tired to hit it the next day. So consider setting a slightly smaller goal, thinking about setting like a supporting goal to get up to that. And so if we're trying to achieve something bigger, set some smaller steps to get up to that point. And maybe it wasn't necessarily the goal directly, but it was the plan related to that goal, and your plan wasn't realistic for your circumstances. And for that case, we just need to adjust that plan. Now we know, say like trying to get some physical activity in the evening didn't work. You're too tired. Now we can try something else like working out in the morning. Another common obstacle can be a lack of social support. So what do I mean by social support? I'm thinking about the people around you, the people who matter to you, and that could be your significant other. It could be friends, family. Maybe they're not supporting your goal. So a couple things you can do here. It's going to depend again on your circumstance and who you're exactly addressing. But one is making sure that you're telling your social support, you're telling the people who are important to you how important this goal is for you to achieve. Consider changing some of your social environment. So what I mean by that is thinking about befriending someone that's more active than you, joining a group, or finding someone who wants to be active and go on a journey together, and being more physically active, like walking groups or whatever is available in your area. So whether we like it or not, with the people around us form our team, and our team really impact our behaviors. And so just think about shaping your team culture to help support your physical activity. I know that's not always easy, and it's going to depend on who you are, but consider talking that out with the people around you and developing a plan with them on how to be physically active. Another big issue that we all run into is time management issues. So a couple things we can do to get around this is the timing of the activity. If we find that after the first couple of weeks that we were planning to be doing a workout or a walk in the afternoon, we're just too tired from work, it doesn't fit, things come up, try changing that to a morning activity. Maybe we're on the other end. We thought we were going to get up early and be active, and we find out that we're not really morning people. Try using a calendar or reminder to really schedule in your physical activity or your exercise bouts. So scheduling it like it's a meeting and treating it just as such. Say, this is an important time for me. This is blocked out of my schedule. This is what it's going for. Another strategy could be to break it up into smaller bouts. So taking those regular physical activity breaks, instead of trying to do one 60-minute chunk or 30-minute chunk in the day, try doing like 5 or 10-minute bouts throughout the day. Consider collecting data on yourself. So what I mean by this is try time tracking, or even at the end of each day, writing a reflection about what you were able to do that day, what you could do better, what worked that day, what didn't. Is there any patterns you're recognizing in each day? Those are all things to look at. At this point, you should take some time and write down on a piece of paper, on your computer, on a phone, whatever, some thoughts about your goals. In those thoughts, I want you to address the following question. What's one thing that went well? What's one thing that needs work? What's a problem you had in achieving your goal? What's a strategy that can counter that problem? So what are we doing to overcome that problem? And what's the next step for your goals? I will provide a worksheet below that'll help you with this process, but I want you to spend some time readjusting your goals and plans. I'll see you then.